Juneteenth. Juneteenth matters. Heavenly, are you coming in?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, we are having our community conversation, Juneteenth Matters. I really appreciate you all's patience with us tonight. I just want to mention that somehow we kind of had a little technical difficulty because one of the numbers for our Zoom link did not reach everyone. Somehow we had a little typo there. So
Heavenly's being very kind and saying somehow the way is that I messed up. So that's how that happened.
We're all in this together, and sometimes things happen. And so honestly, to tell you the truth, we are at this moment trying to send this link out to several people. We invited hundreds of people, and normally we have at least 40 or 50 to 80 people. And so we decided that let's go on with it, enjoy this intimate time to talk about Juneteenth. And I'm so thankful that Patrice was able to text me and just say, Heavenly, I couldn't get in. And my phone is kind of going. So Victor is helping us get these emails, these text messages out with the corrected link. So we will go ahead and move forward. I appreciate you all so much coming and joining us today. This is what family and community is all about. Things happen, so I really appreciate you all being here. So that also meant that the pastor, we're waiting for him. He texted me and said he's trying to get in because normally we like to start off with a prayer. And since he is not in right this moment, I was hoping he'll be able to come right in while we're waiting. And I do not see him yet. So I'm just going to say we give honor to God because that's who we are. We ask for no matter what's going on, that the flow of the Most High is present and moves us forward. So we're going to go ahead and use that as our prayer today. And while we're still getting some more information out, I'm going to ask Victor if he would go ahead and share what we wanted to start with about why Juneteenth matters.
Hello, everyone. Sorry about the Heavenly just explained everything, the technical difficulties. I'm going to share about Juneteenth. In 1863 was the original date of emancipation. However, 2 years later, it was enforced by law that no more ownership of slaves in the North or the South. Juneteenth is the African-American true date of the Emancipation Proclamation. June 19, 1865 was the day our ancestors were informed of their true freedom.
And the thing about that is that the emancipation was originally signed, I believe, in 1863, but slave owners did not want to let the slaves go. They did not want to let them know that your time is up having free labor. So it took years, a couple of years or more, for the word to get to the actual slaves, to the African Americans who were enslaved here in the United States. I just want to give a shout out to John from the Real Time app. Thank you so much, John, for joining us. We really appreciate it. I'm glad you were able to get the new link. We had a little technical difficulty, so we're trying to get that link out to everyone again right now. We just found out within the last few minutes it wasn't working there.
I dropped the new link on your Facebook comments and where I posted it on my Facebook and on the Real Time app page Facebook.
You see how family is? I love it. Thank you so much, John. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
This is definitely what community is about. So I would like for Kat to start us off. Go ahead and start us off with the video. I see people are coming in. Thank you so much for joining us. And we'll start the video, and shortly after that, we'll have Patrice share.
What is Juneteenth?
Juneteenth, also known as Freedom Day or Jubilee Day, is an African-American holiday that commemorates June 19, 1865. That was the day that the last of the emancipated slaves were freed. On January 1, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation as the nation approached its third year of civil war. The proclamation declared that all persons held as slaves within the rebellious states are and henceforward shall be free.
Wait, the Emancipation Proclamation was signed in January of 1863 and took over 2 years for the last of the slaves to be made free?
Yep, you got it. The country was still entrenched in a bloody war, which helped to slow communications. On top of that, many plantation owners kept the news from their slaves.
Well, at least now they were all free?
Well, not exactly. While yes, the Emancipation Proclamation had been signed, technically slavery had not been abolished. Lincoln recognized that the proclamation needed to be followed by a constitutional amendment. Enter the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution provides that neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. The necessary number of states to agree to the amendment was reached on December 6, 1865.
And then they were free?
Yes, they were technically free, but the situation was a bit more complicated. You see, slavery was effectively abolished, except when used as a punishment for crime. Once slaves were freed, they weren't given any help with where to go and what to do. There was basically a large body of people with nowhere to go. Immediately, the former overseer force started arresting black people for things such as vagrancy and trespassing on the only land they knew. Once convicted of these crimes, these freed slaves found themselves once again in bondage. To avoid being arrested for these crimes, some slaves made deals with their former masters wherein they agreed to work the land, turning over a majority of the crops and profits to the owners in return for being allowed to live on the land. This tactic allowed plantation owners to keep their workforce and profit while making sure that former slaves did not make enough money to start anything for themselves. As these former slaves continued to attempt to build something for themselves, they found ways to flourish and began to create the beginnings of a new future. In 1921, Tulsa, Oklahoma's Greenwood district, known as Black Wall Street, was one of the most prosperous African-American communities in the United States. There were grocery stores, banks, barbershops. Some residents even owned their own planes. But on May 31st of that year, the Tulsa Tribune falsely reported that a black man, Dick Rowland, attempted to rape a white woman, Sarah Page. As a result of the Tulsa Tribune's racially inflammatory report, black and white armed mobs arrived at the courthouse. Scuffles broke out and shots were fired. 12 people were killed, 10 white and 2 black. As news of these deaths spread throughout the city, mob violence exploded. White rioters rampaged through the black neighborhood that night and morning, killing men and burning and looting stores and homes. Both politicians and the media falsely framed the Tulsa riot as an uprising started by lawless blacks. The police disregarded due process, arresting blacks and interning them in detention camps. Meanwhile, no whites were arrested. In just 16 hours, police had arrested 60% of the black residents living in Black Wall Street. Mobs burned black-owned businesses and homes and murdered hundreds of black citizens. When black men joined forces to protect their homes, they were ultimately driven out in fear for their lives. By today's estimates, the dreadful and murderous 16 hours caused more than $30 million in damages. The residents of Greenwood were blamed for the death and destruction, and the government made it nearly impossible to rebuild. During the 1950s and 1960s, there began an unprecedented movement for black Americans to gain equal rights under the law in the United States. The Civil War had officially abolished slavery, but it didn't end discrimination against black people. They continued to endure the devastating effects of racism, especially in the South. By the mid-20th century, Black Americans had had more than enough of prejudice and violence against them. They, along with many white Americans, mobilized and began an unprecedented fight for equality that spanned 2 decades. During the Civil Rights Movement, African Americans continued to push for their freedoms and rights, forming activist groups such as the Black Panther Party. The Panthers taught self-reliance and unity among all people while also standing in resistance against all oppressors. Like all of the other pro-Black institutions before them, the Panthers were discredited, disrupted, and systematically eliminated by racist policies, practices, and propaganda. Today's activism is more widespread than ever and takes many different forms as Black people and their allies continue to raise their voices within society. You can see people elevating the Black experience by openly celebrating their heritage through fashion, art, music, and even the natural hair movement. Black people are taking a stand and showing their history and culture are as integral and important as any other. Injustice is being addressed head-on, and it is coming from every corner of the Black community. It is being spotlighted by actors, athletes, musicians, and many more. One of the more recent waves of resistance is being led by the Black Lives Matter movement, which was started in 2013 by Alicia Garza, Patrisse Cullors, and Opal Tometi. This organization was originally formed as a response when a young boy named Trayvon Martin was racially profiled, stalked, and murdered for the crime of wearing a hoodie and walking home while Black. His killer was acquitted using the controversial Stand Your Ground law, which has time and time again been used to justify the assault and murder of Black people, while seldom protecting their rights. A new movement was born, and you can see the effects today. So as you can see, we celebrate Juneteenth because it was the beginning of the future where Black people began their struggle for equal rights and treatment in the United States of America. Every Black person you see is an extension of those brave souls who had to carve out a place for themselves in this country.
You're muted, Heavenly.
Thank you so much. That was an excellent video to explain how Juneteenth started and how it is the beginning of what we are even experiencing now. We are still moving forward with advocating for freedom, advocating for civil rights, advocating for human rights. A lot that was expressed in that video lets us know that we may need to renew our minds and how we see one another. And I just appreciate everyone that's here. And this is a perfect example of how we can support one another. Because sometimes challenges, differences, and misunderstandings happen in community. And this is an opportunity that we can connect and have dialogue so we can correct things. And again, I just want to thank Nick again for going right on to our links and putting the information in for us. And I believe there was a place in the video where it also talked about what we all can do now to continue the fight and advocating for freedom for especially African Americans, the Black and Brown community. I want to move forward and open this conversation up to everyone. I just want to, I guess, first share what it means to me. And I'm taking a deep breath because I'm trying to still send messages to everyone and make sure people are being accommodated. And I thank you for your compassion for this moment. I just want to share what it means to me right now. When I think of Juneteenth, I think of the opportunity to celebrate freedom. I know even within my family, we have experienced a lot of racial encounters that were very uncomfortable, that even caused harm to me, to my daughters, to family members. So when I think of Juneteenth, I think that we still are needing to express that we are free. We're free, and we want the community, this country, to act accordingly, to respond accordingly, that we're free. And so I look forward to celebrating, because I believe that when we have this time of celebration, it creates a synergy within the community. It creates a time for us all to get to know one another so we can be seen as human. oftentimes when we're sitting and we're talking to, and I'll just say law enforcement, we do have conversation with law enforcement, and that's our main thing is we want you to see us as human and know that we're free and know that we want equal rights. We want equity. We want economic rights. We want social justice. And these conversations allow for you to see us as human beings and be able to respond accordingly. So I'm so thankful that Patrice is here. And Patrice was going to come in and share with us how she feels about Juneteenth and what Juneteenth means to her. Hello, Patrice.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Okay, so did you want me to answer some questions or do you want to just talk or?
Yeah, let's talk. Earlier we kind of talked about what Juneteenth meant to you. And I love what you were sharing with me earlier. So maybe you can just share what we talked about earlier a little.
Try to remember, those moments of brilliance sometimes leave me. But I will say that when you talk about what freedom means and wanting to be able to have the agency and the latitude and the autonomy to be able to define your freedom without term or condition. I don't want any footnotes on my freedom. Like, I don't want you to see a page of things that says, well, you're free unless it's these scenarios. I need to be able to be seen as someone who is a free person that's able to come and go and move and live my life and do so without any fear, without any question, without any judgment, and without needing to sort of always have to provide justification, validation, or an explanation for why it is that I feel I'm entitled to be free.
Right, that's good. That is so true. And I was having a conversation with someone earlier about the workplace and how it seems like at times within the workplace, the Black young lady that shared with me, she was just saying, we're just not treated equally. We're not given the same opportunities for promotions, the same opportunities just for growth. Although we may be doing the job just as good or even better, that even this day and time, those types of things are still being experienced. So when you say being able to, not having to justify why I'm entitled to freedom, I appreciate you saying that because I know that's something that is still being experienced in several areas of life. And so what do you feel, I wanted to see, what do you feel, Patrice, about us joining together? I always feel like coming together is a strong reminder of this day of Juneteenth and freedom. What do you feel the effects are when we all come together?
I think that there is unity in numbers, there is power in numbers, there is strength in numbers. You have the opportunity to share ideas, values, vision, camaraderie, and you also get a sense of not feeling alone, not feeling as though what it is that you are fighting for, advocating for, or working toward is just you sort of like in the abyss alone, trying to move something that's bigger than you. When you have people that are sharing in that same movement, sharing in that same struggle, sharing in that same struggle, I think that just that sort of that the realization of what kind of a shared experience is,
right, and
sort of being able to know that someone kind of gets you and understands, that's what community means. And even if you don't always get 100% of what someone else's reality is, being open enough to be empathetic, to hear them, to see them, acknowledge them, and meet them where they are. And allow them to sort of be and coexist, even if you don't agree on every single thing. I think that's really, really important in terms of community. I wanted to also touch on what you said about being in the workplace. I am somebody who has been very fortunate that I've been able to work in environments where I can show up as my authentic Black woman self. And whatever that is, be it in sort of my worldview, my value, my vision, my passion, my advocacy, my natural hair, the whole nine. I've only had, I think, one job where that wasn't necessarily embraced. And I quit that job in 5 months without having another place to go. And my parents were like, are you crazy? But I just couldn't keep going back to a place where I didn't feel validated, appreciated. I was working super hard, doing work that wasn't really fulfilled, and I wasn't passionate about it. And I didn't get any sort of support at work for all the effort I was putting in. Yeah. It just wasn't worth it. So I thought it was worth it to sort of preserve who I was and not have to feel like I was compromising my values. And so I walked away from the job.
Right.
And then, and I've been natural for, probably since 2004. So before it was like a thing, before it was like popping to wear your hair natural, I was natural in the workplace, and I was natural in my leadership roles. And I did so confidently, and I do so confidently. And I always want anybody to feel like they have the autonomy and the agency to show up however they feel most comfortable.
You know, I'm so thankful you brought that up. And I'm glad that you have been able to be in your space and be confident and even fulfilled, knowing I'm happy in my space. I come as I am, accept me as I am. And I'm great, because you are great, Patrice. So I'm really thankful that you shared that, because I can think of times when people have shared with me who do wear their afros, and even someone close to me, she brought up to me, she's like, yeah, they said something about me wearing my hair up in the ponytail and in a natural big ponytail. And it's like, they asked her, is there something else maybe you can do with your hair? And it's just unbelievable, in my opinion, that those kind of conversations happen.
And not under the environment where the Crown Act is the law of the land in California. And CROWN is an acronym that stands for Creating a Respectful, Open Workplace for Natural Hair.
Wow, and that's wonderful. That's here in California.
It's
right?
Here in California. There are probably another dozen or so states that have adopted it as state law. There has been a bill introduced at the federal level for it to become federal law, but the federal legislative calendar moves a lot slower than state calendars can. So more and more states are definitely adopting the Crown Act legislation. And again, it's about not necessarily just sort of hairstyle, but it's also really important to protect against that discrimination, because students are being policed by their hair in schools, right, unfairly being prevented from opportunities academically. People are being held back in their workplace based on an artificial standard of what is considered to be acceptable, presentable, or what's frankly comfortable for white folks.
Right.
Like, I don't need you to be worried about what my hair looks like. I want you to worry about whether or not when I show up to the meeting, am I prepared? Do I have the appropriate information? Is my performance stellar? Am I meeting expectations? Am I doing the job that I was hired to do?
Exactly. And that's part of our freedom too, to be able to come free as we are, our natural appearance, however we choose to wear our hair. The place that I was thinking of, this young lady was in Arizona, and I know laws change really slow out there in Arizona, as I believe only 8 years ago did they even start recognizing Martin Luther King Day. And so these are things that we're still, here we are 156 years later, we're still having to advocate for us to completely be free. And so thank you so much, Patrice, for sharing that. And I know, Victor, you wanted to say something too.
Yes, Patrice, thank you for everything you shared. It's like being measured for the content of your character, not the color of your skin or the way you wear your hair.
Right, definitely.
And we all have heard that before.
Definitely.
Martin Luther King.
I'm so thankful that Denise is here. Hello, Denise, how are you?
Hello, everyone. I'm at work in a predominantly Caucasian space. I'm one of the few. I was called color a few years ago, moving back here. So that was interesting. But I'd just like to kind of briefly state before I leave. I think Juneteenth and the presentation of Tulsa should be a highlighted representation of collaborative efforts and the benefit of the community enrichment, development, and overall like success. I mean, if we could just join together and make sure we are collaborating and partnering with one another, there really could be beneficial outcomes to be anticipated. But it's the necessity of knowing your history, knowing your value, knowing where you come from to be able to have that connective olive branch, because there are things like just the multi-generational trauma that exists within us. But if we could get some transparency on the greatness that we come from, and not even slavery, because we extend far beyond that. So if we could just highlight to our people, like, you've got to know that you come from such royalty, and we do operate within this mentality of the village. We're not, Western society, this individualized concept of just we do it on our own. No, we do it together. So we have to be congruent with one another. Juneteenth for me, it just means progress. It means that we've made it to a certain point, but there's still so much to go. But working together is such a detriment in being able to access those certain spaces, and understanding that it's systemic, and we have to be able to get to the root of the framework of the society. So it is legislation and policy making, because although we could, fight for civil rights, which we have done, if we don't get to the system and to the root of it, we're going to still have these combative forces trying to dismantle everything we put together. We're going to put together Tulsa, they're going to burn it down again. I mean, we might as well get a military. You know me, I'm a revolutionary. But it's just so grateful for the two of you putting this together. I'm always honored to be in attendance. I'm gonna head back to my white space. Shh, be quiet. And I wish you well. Stay beautiful, people. Bye.
Thank you so much, Denise, for sharing. I appreciate everyone who has come and joined us today. I'm going to mention, for those who were not here a little earlier, we did have a technical difficulty with getting our links out. The link out, we actually sent out the wrong link. So a lot of people that we invited to come did not get the link, and we've been trying to get it over, but that's why we're so thankful that you all are here. And I just would like to see what you all feel. And I see that we have several white faces here, if I may say. And I just want to see how you all take what we're saying, how you feel about Juneteenth, how you feel like you can support Juneteenth, even be a part. And I actually would like to call on John, because I'm so thankful John is here. I want him also to share about his organization, the Real Time app. It's a great app, a great opportunity to be able to show nationwide the positive things that are going on in the community. Hello, John, how are you?
Hi, everybody. So thank you for having me on the call. I'm really excited. I was educated just a few years ago about Juneteenth. I didn't know. I saw some posts about it, and my friends brought me up to speed. And now I'm educating people that look like me as to the history of that, because it's just different than the history we were taught in schools. A lot of our history books were affected by mothers of the Confederacy and organizations that have kept Confederate statues and legislation to affect history books and stuff. And this is what we were taught. It's what I understood to be truth. And I didn't learn about this till I was taught outside of school. So it's my role to understand and seek to resist ignorance that I was taught and grew up with, which is pretty common with people that look like me.
I just want to say something really quick on that, John, because we weren't taught Juneteenth either. I feel like I learned more as an adult, as I started kind of doing my own study and educating myself. And it's interesting that a lot of people did not know about Juneteenth. Someone said to us the other day, they was like, how is it that people don't know about Juneteenth? And my response was, did you learn about Juneteenth in school? because I know I didn't learn about Juneteenth in school. We learned about slavery. We learned that we had no value. We learned all these disparities of Black people, but we didn't learn about the celebration of freedom. We didn't learn about that. So I appreciate you saying that, John.
I mean, that happened at the very foundation. You know, when we say the problem is systemic, I mean, just the lobbying in this country as goes so deep as education to make sure that people literally don't hear the truth, and softballing slavery and the fight for freedom in the Civil War and everything that happened after that has you know, played a nice face to everything that's transpired. And it just wasn't as bad as that. And it's gone so far, and it's continuing today. So, you know, me seeking to not be ignorant, and then educating other people is my role.
Yeah.
As far as the real time app goes, you know, it's an app that our purpose of our organization is to find the good and point it out. We show geographically verifiable pictures and videos in the United States and around the world, so people can own their own narratives. We think that's a civil right. I also believe that the narrative is decided in popular media before the story is even told. So when something happens, they've already decided how they're going to spin it, regardless of the event. So giving people the tool, when they see something happen, they can record it and own it accurately, to be able to tell the message that is truly happening. We use it where I live in the Baltimore area to document the work we're doing with organizations here, to give people good things to look at, because we believe what we see the most of, I think.
Yeah.
So we're gonna overcome the darkness with light. And create good things.
Darkness.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like to add, John, I don't know who's the author of this, because if I did, I would cite it, or if it's just a saying. But it's a saying, there's two educations you receive in the world. That's the one that's given to you and the one you seek for yourself. And normally the one you seek for yourself supersedes everything you've been taught.
100%.
So true.
100%.
So true. Thank you so much. And John, can you please share with everyone where they can find you at and the information? Yeah. And you know what else? I just want to check. I know you all had the app available for iPhones, and I'm gonna be honest, I have an Android.
I'm coming. We're coming to you soon. It's actually being built and launched in the next couple of months. The update for the current iOS version is about ready to drop, to make it more user friendly, and be able to connect some loops as far as like the users be able to see like what's happening more accurately, and be able to drop a green pin for good, a red pin for something bad or an injustice. So we can see patterns of good and bad, and it really gives us the ability to show what's actually happening.
And so I follow you. I follow you. I see all the different things that you bring up, showing positive things happening throughout the community. You also make aware of when there's drama, as far as time to protest, when someone is being, like we know, we have the picture of Anthony McClain in our right here behind us, where we know he was shot by the police. And when you talk about the narrative, we know that the police put their narrative out before they even allowed us to see the raw footage of what happened ourselves. So it's good that your app allows people to put the truth out when it's happening.
And it's corroborating. If 50 people are putting a point on an event, it shows the time and location of the event. So it's corroborating. So they can say, I'm lying or you're lying, but 50 of us all looking at the same thing at the same time, points of view, it can't be swept under the rug. Not the large scale we're bringing to the table. It's a level of understanding that's putting real blockchain into communication and narratives, and really doing some wild disruptive stuff in media, and making social media more social.
Yeah,
let's actually make it social.
Yes. It's so funny that during COVID-19, they had a saying that although they're telling us to be social distant, we believe that we don't really want to be social distant, but we can be physically distant. So we want to be sure that we are communicating, having ways. And so I thank you for the real-time app that gives us an opportunity to be socially involved with what's going on around the nation.
Yes.
All right. Thanks.
For sure.
Yeah. Glad to hear the support.
Thank you, John, so much for joining us today.
In LA.
Yeah. And you were supposed to be here in LA. I know something went on and things kind of changed up, but we'll
Yeah, we had to pivot, but I'll be out there soon.
For sure.
If they're not present, but digitally.
For sure. So again, I'm so thankful for everyone's here. I see Shepherd's Door is here as well. I wanted to see if she would like to come in and say something, Tanisha, if you're there. Again, for those who are just joining us, hi, Brittany, how are you? We did have a technical difficulty, so maybe not as many people were able to join today, but we feel this as being very intimate, very personal, and we can get right down into some really good conversation. So I see Jill is here. Hi, Jill, how are you today?
Jill.
I would like to see, Jill, if you would like to share with us what Juneteenth means to you. When did you find out about Juneteenth, and what do you understand about it?
Well, I apologize that I didn't get to be here earlier. I had another commitment, but I just love Juneteenth. I learned about it in Colorado, and it was at a housing, affordable housing, homeownership, affordable housing, and they made sure that they had space there for a theater and a coffee shop where they honored African Americans. And it was an area that had been strong, jazz greats. They were all in that center. It was a Black business district. And so to this day, at this huge center now, they honor Juneteenth, and I still get those emails. So it made me really happy that they're reviving this wonderful holiday. So that's really where I got more familiar with it, from my work when I was in Colorado. So yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear they're talking about it out in Colorado. I know that here in California, that's what it is, where it's being taught now. A lot of people are learning about Juneteenth right now. I appreciate everyone who's here, who are wanting to know more about it. Tell me now, Jill, what else it was another question I added to that. So what does Juneteenth mean to you when it comes to the unity, how maybe even white folks can support and Black people during this type of celebration?
I just think that the Black culture is such a rich culture that's influenced. When we went to the Black History Museum in Washington, D.C., it's just amazing to see how the Black culture has infiltrated everything all over the planet. And I don't think people realize the richness we have by having that culture part of our lives every day. And so I think just the awareness of the gift and just flip the whole thing, from seen as someone who's unwanted to someone we can't live without. I mean, just think that.
Julia, so sweet. I love this. I love that statement.
Yeah, I've heard someone say they couldn't live without hip hop. Life would be boring.
And you say that, Jill, because we really appreciate that. And I know you mean that from the heart, that you can't live without us.
Can't. Long time ago, I figured that out, and I think I'm a person of faith, but I feel like if you're expressing, we cannot truly know God without appreciating and knowing all of the people he's created. And I just think if we stay in our little white bubble, we are just totally missing the big picture and missing so much. I spent a lot of my time in Latin America. I spent time in Kenya. It's just like, I didn't know I had room in my heart for another culture, but it's like, I'm so glad I live in a Black neighborhood. I love my neighbors. I love all my Latino neighbors and all the loud music, you know? And so it's different than all the gentrifiers coming in. I guess I was one of the gentrifiers, but I moved in because I love my neighborhood, not because I wanted to push people out. So anything we can do to celebrate a culture and all the gift that's given to us is so, we need to do more and more of that all the time.
Thank you so much, Jill. And I just want to say, we definitely enjoy spending time with you. We came home and a couple of days later, you know, she has a garden and she shared one of her huge avocados with us, and it was absolutely delicious.
Yes.
And we enjoyed the cookies. We just really enjoy spending time with you and your husband. So thank you so much. And I see another new face. We're so excited to have met Sarah. We met Sarah about a couple of weeks ago. Sarah. And I see, Sarah, you are here with us. If you would share a little bit of what you may already know about Juneteenth, how you feel about it. And we know already you're supporting us, so we really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. I was really excited to meet you guys a couple of weeks ago too, doing a peace march. I mean, that's what we're here for, to create more peace in the world. I actually first learned about Juneteenth when I was doing publicity in New York, and I had the honor and opportunity to send out to newspapers and media to get it more well known to people who also didn't know about it, such as myself. And I think it was a very good point to bring up how it wasn't taught in school. Like, why don't more people know about this? And it shouldn't be like a usual thing, like, oh yeah, I didn't know, but it should be, yeah, this is what we're celebrating on June 19th, or, like, that's what we're doing. And I think when you push community and when you push how we can work together rather than being separate or having inequalities, like, that's not a humanity. That's not how we're supposed to interact with each other. It's how do we help each other? And I think that's a lot of why we're all here today, is because we want to help. And I just am really glad that I'm getting the opportunity to do that with you. I know you're going to be having the event next week. I can't wait to set up, be there, be a part of it. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And you are absolutely wonderful. We appreciate your support. You came right in, showing us so much love and compassion. We really appreciate it. And so, yeah, we'll look forward to having a big time party and celebration next weekend. And, I was just about to ask Brittany, hello, Brittany. And then as soon as I'm about to say, hey, Brittany, I see that she turned her camera off. So I'll wait till she comes back, because she's probably taking a quick break. Now, is there anyone else I want to, there you are. Hey, Brittany.
I was switching rooms.
How are you? So good to see you tonight.
So good to see you guys. I'm always so happy to join these. I didn't learn about Juneteenth until, I've known about it for like a few years, but definitely not until I, was an adult, and like probably within the past 5 years or so. And I feel like I'm fairly knowledgeable. Like the fact that, it's not more of a, I feel like it's just nowadays like becoming more well known and widespread. And I think that's really awesome. So that's just positive note. Like, one thing that the video earlier was super interesting, and just made me think about the part where they were saying, when they abolished slavery, there was a clause saying you can't, have to be ordered to serve for free unless you are committed of a crime and can be therefore punished for it. And how that, like, the vagrancy laws and all of that, that is still to this day, like, the racial caste system of casting people off as criminals and branding them for the rest of their lives. for that is still, you know, I think a lot of people don't realize. I didn't until fairly recently in my life, like just how incredibly impactful yeah, the prison system is, and how much it affects the Black community and sort of keeps people down. So sorry, that's like sort of negative way to, but I'm happy about Juneteenth.
Yeah, you know, Brittany, don't be shy. We all, a lot of us learn late, even our own people. Me, personally, I probably learned about Juneteenth in 2010 when I actually attended an event, a Juneteenth event, and I really didn't know much what it was.
Brittany, I'm also glad you brought up, because to me that was the trick in the bag when they said, "Oh, you're free, but if you're not working, all these rules, if you're not doing all these things, basically taking care of yourself and functioning with, and we just put you out there, then we're basically going to enslave you again. We're going to put you back in slavery, basically put you in jail, give you felonies, give you reasons why you're about to do free labor again." I'm glad you brought that up, Brittany.
That is,
and people, and because of the fact that they are branded as criminals, everyone whose lives aren't directly affected, none of their relatives or anything, it gets so much less empathy and sympathy from society, I think, because people are just like, oh, criminals. We don't care about like violent criminals and whatever, you know? So it's like just a terrible thing in society that, like, because of the I guess just the perception that people, like the brand of criminal, it's a very effective system of oppression.
Yeah, it's been very effective. That's what they wanted to do, was brand us. And I just feel like, you know, when you're trying to survive, if you go out there and have no way to survive, you want to eat, you need somewhere to live, you're trying to just function, and you have nothing, then you will do whatever necessary. And when you start doing, especially back then, you did things that were necessary, they lock you up. That was a reason to go ahead and brand you again and brand you as a criminal when all you want to do is live. So thank you so much, Brittany, for sharing that.
That's that tricky 13th Amendment, huh?
Yep. That's like, oh, the little small print, like, by the way, except for this.
Well, I think I'm loving this conversation more than any, because this has been where we're really talking. I'm so happy that we're all able to come on and share. I see it's Mama Tanisha is here today. Please, from Shepherd's Door. Please tell me hi, how are you? Let me know your name again. Thank you again, Brittany. Hello, how are you? You're on. Oh, there you
Hello
go.
there. Hello. I've been back and forward. I'm babysitting right now my grandchildren, but thank you so much. I'm sorry I came on a little late. I didn't get a chance to see the entire video. But my name is Linda Ofrey, and I'm the executive director for Shepherd's Door, and we're located here in Pasadena. We've been here about 21 years. And Shepherd's Door is a domestic violence program. So we work with victims and survivors of domestic violence. But I was listening as I was moving around in the kitchen, and Juneteenth is something that I found out about maybe 15 years ago. And I found that I was sitting on a committee organization, African-American organization in Los Angeles, and the event was at Leimert Park. So when I think about Juneteenth, the first thing I think about, of course, is freedom, but then I think about Black pride. I think about resilience. I think about intelligence. I think about smartness, family, celebration, right? So I am very excited. Actually, next Saturday, we will be attending 3 events, so including your event, Heavenly, and yes, and Victor. So we will be at your event, and there's 2 other events. So we will be rolling on Saturday.
A full day of celebration.
Yes, a full day of celebration. A full day of celebration. So I'm very excited about it, and and very proud as an African-American woman and an intelligent, smart, and brilliant African-American woman. So, and have a beautiful family. And so I'm very proud of who I am and very proud of my people. So I want to thank all of you ladies and men as well for being on the call and learning about Juneteenth, interested and looking to collaborate and get to know one another, because that's what it's all about. Yeah. You know, it's not about color. You know, it's about getting to know the individual, getting to know who they are, getting to know the culture. And so I'm excited about it. And I look forward to next Saturday and meeting new people.
For sure. Thank you so much, Miss Linda. I remember when I first met you a few months back for the Faye Love. We got Faye Love right here too for the Faye Love tribute. I just love your energy, the compassion, and the confidence that you have. You know, I believe that when people are strikingly confident, it just draws people to them. I was impressed by you. So thank you so much for being who you are. Thank you for sharing about Shepherd's Door. I know you all are doing a lot there. And we even want to get more involved with what you all are doing there. So thank you so much for joining today. And we'll see you on Saturday as well.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, guys. I'll be here. I'm just helping my babies cook some food.
For sure. So thank you so much. And were you going to say something now? Oh, okay. So I know that throughout this meeting so far, I've been calling out names. So may I continue just to say if you would like to share. So I'm going to call who's right in the middle of my screen. I see Kate, excuse me. I see Kate. Hello, Kate. How are you? Can you share?
Hi. How are you?
Hi. Thank you so much for you this evening.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate just being able to be in this space with all of you. And I can't remember when I first learned about Juneteenth, but I'm always learning more about it. I really appreciated seeing that video. And one thing that struck me about it was just how it can hold the complexity of the long struggle. And I mean, and that's important for us to hold too, or just for me, I feel like it's important to remember that, you know, while even before many African Americans learned that they had actually been freed, you know, white supremacy was trying to put in place new ways to keep them from exercising that freedom. Like at the same time as that was going on, as the video said, Black people were also finding ways to build community and, you know, build strength and build solidarity, and, you know, so that places like Black Wall Street could come to be. And like both of those things could happen at the same time and did happen at the same time. And both of those things are still happening today. Like I still see so much white supremacy and oppression and racism and violence every day. But I also see, you know, vibrancy and like, I feel like I have a lot to learn too from the strength of the African-American community around me. So I appreciate that so much. And I try to like kind of hold that complexity in my mind, like stay angry and stay upset and keep, you know, pushing myself to take action and like be accountable, but also, you know, be able to celebrate and, you know, I don't know. I think I just appreciate so much your bringing me into this conversation to like hear about, you know, Black joy also, as well as the things that are, you know, contributing to that freedom that you are expressing, like that is still, it's here, but it's also, you know, we've come far, but we still have so far to go. So thank you so much.
Well, this is how it's happening, is these type of conversations. So Kate, thank you so much for sharing that. And I appreciate how you brought up how with the Black community building with Tulsa, and it was happening. the Black community was building up economy. But even then, we still saw how white supremacy still was reigning in America because they didn't want to see it. They hated it. So I'm glad that right now these type of conversations are allowing both things to happen, for us to understand how to help bring and support the Black community, the Black economic growth, and also give an opportunity for us, for white folks, to say, what can we do to help? How can we be a part? So this is happening right now at the same time. So that's what these conversations are all about. And so thank you so much for sharing. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, and understand that Juneteenth for us, for Black people, it's a celebration. We feel for what our ancestors went through, but what they went through and what's been implemented up until now is that we are free and we can share it and we can celebrate it and we can come together and be in unity.
Right. And I'll say, just when I think about what our ancestors, and even I'll say my dad and my grandfather and my great-grandfather, stories were shared. And I can't really imagine, honestly, going through what they've been through, what they really experienced. It was really, so that makes me want to celebrate that. I'm thankful that heaviness, that type of horrific treatment, that I'm not experienced to that point. But there are people experiencing really horrific trauma from white supremacy. I'll just say that it's still, people are still experiencing it. And so that's why we do have to continue to advocate for it. And we appreciate you all support in that space. And so I'll just go to thank you so much. So I'll go to the next face that I see. I see Vanessa. Hello, Vanessa. How are you?
Vanessa Kale.
Thank you so much for joining
Hello,
today.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hello.
I think I heard about Juneteenth when a book came out, like a novel, some years ago, and I'd never heard of it before. And then I was aware that it was a holiday in Texas, like since, I don't know, like maybe the 70s. But I don't really know about what an actual like Juneteenth celebration is like.
Well, then be sure you come on June 19th up to Charles White Park, because we're gonna celebrate, and we're gonna have a lot of fun. People will share more information. It's also gonna be an educational time. It's gonna be storytelling, and we're gonna feel that synergy of freedom. And I appreciate you all celebrating freedom with us, so we can all experience it together. So thank you so much, Vanessa, for joining us today.
Sure.
This evening. I'm so thankful that Rose, are you there? Because, you know, Rose had said, Heavenly, I'm trying to get in and I can't get in, but now I see she's here. So Rose, if you are open to share, or even want to turn on your camera, please do. If you don't, you can share without the camera, but I'm glad you're here, Rose. How are you?
Oh, I'm getting yourself.
Well, we showed a video giving some information about Juneteenth and how originally it took years for the African-American Black slaves to really find out they were free. Of course, there was a lot of resistance from the white community to really let that be said. We are free, let our people go type thing. So we were talking about what Juneteenth means to us. We were talking about what Juneteenth means as far as the unity and celebration. So would you like to share, Rose, what Juneteenth means to you?
Yeah, I'll share a little bit. To me, it means like the end of slavery, and then also coming together as one in unity as well. Because we have to be one in order to make it in society, you know, today's time. And back in the day, they went through a lot of stuff, because even my mom, she shared stuff with me. And then back in, I think, 2015, 2016, I did like a Juneteenth at my church to kind of, you know, bring awareness to other people as well, since we really don't celebrate it too much around here as well. And so then now I'm educating my kids on what Juneteenth is as well. and then how slavery come about and how racism still exists, and then how do you overcome that if you come up against it, because we still got to live in this world together.
Yes, that's so true. And so when did you mention when you found out about Juneteenth? Because I know I did not find out about Juneteenth in school or when I was growing up. When did you find out about it?
Well, my family, like my mom, she's from Texas, and then our grandmother. So my mom would like always educate us on what they went through and how they, had the stigmatism and the separation, the segregation, all that stuff. So she kind of like educate me and my sister on it as we was coming up and doing like history projects and stuff. Then we start talking about it even more so with about 2015, 2016, we start talking really about it. Then when I started being a youth director at the church, then I said, and I was doing, programs. So I said, well, since we don't have anything around here, let's try to be more of awareness to our youth since we don't get that in school. And then now they really don't even get Black history in school.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I'm hoping that the Black history that they teach now is a little different than the Black history that I was taught. I hope that they teach how Miss Linda brought up earlier, that we are a resilient people, that we are brilliant people, and that we should be confident and love who we are. Because honestly, when I was growing up, the type of Black history I learned made me have self-esteem issues. It even kind of put self-hate in my thoughts, because we were taught that we weren't human, we weren't worthy. We really didn't have that many chances to be someone great in life. And so I hope that the history that's being taught to our young people these days are really teaching them how to love themselves and know how they have overcome so many different challenges in life, but yet and still here we are.
Yeah, because I know like with PHS, they bring it in the ethnic class now for their history. And so they send us an email where they bring that into the school now to teach the kids on a different level.
I just want to ask really quick, Patrice, do you know about that? What they're teaching as well in the schools when it comes to our Black history?
So I don't have an in-depth sense of what the curriculum looks like, but I know for ethnic studies, it was introduced at the state level through legislation, and the California Department of Education has been working on trying to determine the best way to implement it. And they still are uncertain about how best to do that. They still have not really kind of crystallized around an established curriculum. So there's still a lot more to come. I think that districts are trying to introduce it, but they don't really have enough information. They don't have enough guidance on what is inclusive of ethnic studies. There's lots of conversations depending on who you ask about who's included, whose history you're teaching, what history you're teaching, et cetera, et cetera. So those things have not still been fully fleshed out. So it is a good thing that they're wanting to introduce ethnic studies into the history curriculum, but I hope that there is significant effort paid to being diligent on the front end and taking your time to plan it well versus rushing to have it implemented poorly and then having the result of it be not as favorable as it could be.
That makes sense. Yes, so I do hope they do their due diligence. Thank you so much, Patrice, for sharing that. So now I just want to introduce, from showing up for racial justice, I am so thankful for Jane and Kat. They're so supportive. And so I just would love for Jane and Kat to share what Juneteenth means to them, how they support Juneteenth. And I mean, Jane, please go ahead and share with us who you are, what about your organization, and how what Juneteenth means to you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Thank you. I also just want to say again, my apologies about the link thing. It just is a good reminder to slow down while copying, while making email. So my name is Jane. I am one of the co-founders of Showing Up for Racial Justice Altadena. And we basically educate and mobilize white people in our community to end their support for racism and police violence, and to take action for racial justice in Altadena and Pasadena and beyond. And, you know, in SURJ, we believe that the best way for white people to participate in Juneteenth, because it is a holiday celebrating Black freedom from enslavement by people of European descent, like my ancestors and like some of your ancestors, is to make reparations. And a lot of people support making reparations in theory, but they don't quite know where to start, or maybe they even think, you know, like, is my contribution going to make a difference? And so it's really important that we start talking about the nuts and bolts of reparations. And I'm going to ask that those of you who are white, who are here tonight, that one way you can start becoming a reparationist or deepen your commitment to reparations is to support Heavenly and Victor, My Tribe Rise. And I've put their information there in the chat, how you can contribute. It is not actually free to put on an event like the Juneteenth event that My Tribe Rise is putting on next weekend, so that our community can all come together in unity and celebration. It's costly, and we're all volunteers. So it is tremendously helpful for you to make a contribution, and even more helpful to make a monthly contribution, because that way you're helping to sustain the work that My Tribe Rise is doing in our community. I'm also going to say that another thing you can do is come to, for the white folks who are here, is come to our June monthly meeting, which is on June 27th at 11 a.m. We have a really great guest speaker from the Fund for Reparations Now, and they are the white ally affinity group of the National African American Reparations Commission. And so they're going to talk about, like, what do reparations look like at the national level. The National African American Reparations Commission, or NARC, has a 10-point platform, kind of like the Black Panthers had a 10-point platform, about, you know, what are the priority areas for reparations. And they just break it down so beautifully, and they make it like so obvious. Of course, we should be paying reparations to African Americans. And so I guess I just want to say that for white people, I read somewhere or saw on a t-shirt, like, love Black people as much as you love Black culture. And I think sometimes we love Black music, or we love showing up for the cookout or whatever, and we're not really thinking through, what does it mean to invest in the health and wealth of Black people and Black communities? And that is the other piece of this. So I guess I just want to say to the white people here, don't just show up at Juneteenth to celebrate and eat a meal and party. Also, you know, put your money, put your resources, put your time where your heart is. And I know everybody's heart is in the right place here, but we also really got to support our Black leaders.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jane. I would also like Kat to share. She usually doesn't say as much here, but when she speaks, she's profound. So please share, Kat, as well. Thank you, Jane.
I just want to say, boy, we calling them out tonight. Normally you raise your hand. Not tonight. You're getting called out by name.
Well, it's more intimate tonight. So now we see everybody. We can just say, hey, what's up?
The floor is yours, Kat.
Yeah. I think Juneteenth is an amazing time to celebrate, right? We just don't get enough opportunities in our year to celebrate specifically Black people and Black culture and positive changes that have happened, right? Like, we are not there. We are not all the way there. But all of those steps along the way that we can celebrate, we should, right? And bringing attention to it is really helpful and useful, because it brings the next generation in, right? And gives them those like thought processes and talking points, and makes bridges to things that are currently happening, right? So all of those young people out there can see the patterns and can help make change too. And so I'm just super grateful that we have this opportunity to celebrate, because often we're in our social justice movement and it's hard, right? And we're like working hard. And it's so great to get to celebrate together all of the victories that have happened and all of the future victories that we will have coming soon, hopefully.
Thank you so much, Kat, for saying that, because you're right. In this social justice movement, it's a lot of heaviness because we're addressing a lot of different issues that needs attention. So a lot of times we're so out there fighting and advocating and demanding and saying we want equality that we don't get to really celebrate. So I want us all to be able to come and let our hair down and shake and move and have a lot of fun, eat good food together, and take this a break away from what we still need to address, but be able to celebrate what has happened that is progressive, things that has happened that are allowing for equality to come all the way up to the level of we really are free. So yeah, I'm so thankful that you brought it up that way. It's really a time for us to celebrate. Let's not talk about all the things that needs to be addressed on that particular day and just come and celebrate our freedom. So thank you so much. Thank you, Jane and Kat. Kat, I just want you to know, Jane, it's no problem at all. I know you brought up about I don't even know what you brought up, because for me, I am enjoying this conversation with those that are here. You know, what's meant to be will be. So this is what was meant to be. And we're having a great time. I think that we're pretty much at the end now, because everyone here has shared. We've all talked about what we feel about Juneteenth. We're all ready to celebrate. We understand we understand what progress has happened. We now are talking about Juneteenth, and I know you all are going to go share with other people about Juneteenth who may not know about it. And I think that's about it for now.
Yeah, I think so.
Unless anyone had anything else to share?
Until Juneteenth.
I would like to just put up our flyer so you all can see the flyer. If you all have not, we will just, for those who do not know, we will be celebrating Juneteenth on June 19th. So it's always that day, because I also hear people say that, well, what day is Juneteenth?
Yeah, June
it's
19th.
On June 19th. We'll be at Charles White Park. It will be a freedom march and block party. We'll have live music, good soul food. We'll have poetry and storytelling. We'll have liberation speakers. We're going to have a great time. We'll be doing face painting and interactive arts. A lot of vendors, local vendors will be there. So come out and enjoy and celebrate with us on that day. Please be sure, I think they may put, the flyer may be put in the chat so you all can download it. I'm gonna tell you, I don't know for sure how that all goes, but I hope you all can see. You can go to our page, My Tribe Rise, or go to our website, mytriberise.org. You can also find it at Showing Up for Racial Justice, the SURJ Altadena. Find the flyer there and be sure to share it with everyone. So we look forward to seeing you all on Juneteenth. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Peace and blessings.
So much.
Good night. Thank you so much. And I appreciate all that you do.
Thank you.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
All right,
much.
Brittany. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Blessing. Thank you, John.
All right, John.
Thank you, Kat. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
John,
All right,
thank you, Miss Linda.
All right.
Peace and blessing. Thank you, Valerie. Did Valerie get to talk?
Valerie did not talk.
Valerie, speak.
Hold on, Valerie. We're still recording. Are you there?
Hi.
Forgive me. I must not have realized when I just saw your name right now. I'm like, did I hear Valerie speak? Hey,
Can you hear me now?
Why don't you share it now, because we're recording it, so it'll be part of the video.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Please forgive me. I
Okay.
didn't realize I did.
Thank you so much for this. My friend Stephanie told me about SURJ, and I've known about Juneteenth for a long time, because I guess I'm kind of a student of history and was a teacher for many years. But yeah, definitely the textbooks whitewash everything, especially African American history, because it's our painful past that we don't want to look at, But I hear what you're saying. You don't want to dwell in the, because it's easy for me on my own, just to feel bad for everything that's happened and just horrible. But you're right. It's time to celebrate progress and time to celebrate you and celebrate all of our freedom in America. So
yes. Valerie, I should have made sure I called your name earlier.
That's okay. I put some comments in the chat, but I'm a little shy about, my hair today.
No worries. I'm glad you were able to share now. I think next time, maybe I'll ask Kat or Jane if we can share things from the chat, because a lot of times I forget. I don't really look at the chat while we're talking. But thank you for sharing in the chat. It looks like it look like 26 messages. They was talking in the chat.
Yeah, it's a great group. So I'll bring my daughter and her friend up to the park.
Okay,
it's a great park. Yeah, so that'll be really fun.
Nice. We were all out there today going through all that, how we wanted everything laid out. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be fun, and it's going to be in the evening. So you just like dancing in the evening.
Ooh, we like that.
For sure. Thank you again, Valerie, for joining.
Thank you, Heavenly and Victor.
Thank you.
Peace and
All
blessings.
right. Bye-bye now.